What is going on, buddy? Zach RC here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome along to episode number 3 of the F124 Driver Career Mode Series for the Australian Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the last episode, make sure to go check that one out before you see this one. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and also catch up on the playlist as well to get yourself caught up on all the first few episodes. There'll be a link in the top right hand corner of your screen now. So make sure to go check those out before you see this one. Coming into the third race weekend then of the 2024 season, of course, we've come close to points these first two rounds in Bahrain and Jeddah. We just need a little bit more to get us over the line. Things haven't been fantastic for us, especially in terms of quali pace. That's been the big problem over these first two races. But I've got faith in this RB. One thing I will make mention of here, just in terms of R&D. Now, this one, there's a bit of a split recording here. I recorded qualifying and recorded the race separately, just due to time constraints that I had. And at that point, as I say, we still need the rivalry here, just so I can go over the screen looking at the rivalry over Sonoda. But at this point in the recording, we are still 9th place in the R&D chart. But then in the race, we are then 6th. So this will be the last race where we are using the old patch in any way, and the new patch in terms of performance means that we are up to around 6th or 7th. I'm not entirely sure where exactly, but that will be figured out when we go to the next episode in Japan. In terms of upgrades then, everything is all covered in terms of 3 of the 4 bases. Aerodynamics is the only one we actually make an upgrade on, so we'll make a minor beam wing upgrade there with a few resource points that we've got. We've now got 3 upgrades coming through on our end. Of course, Yuki doing a few as well. That'll put us there in 9th place for now, but hopefully help us close in on the cars in front of me. One of the upgrades through from Sonoda, that's a chassis upgrade there. And our Aero one comes through as well. Weekly resources, not as many as you did in the last game, but not complaining about that. And that is all the time advanced. We'll have a quick check to see if there's anything more we can do upgrade-wise before we jump into the race weekend. As he's still chasing Alpine and Sauber. They've been our main rivals in these first 2 races. So we can try and get the upper hand on those guys. Perhaps even score some points, you never know. So with that in mind, we're going to jump into the Grand Prix weekend and see if this is the weekend we can finally score those elusive first championship points.
And a warm welcome, everybody. We're here in the heart of Melbourne. It's Albert Park, and it's qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix.
Here we go then. Welcome to the Albert Park circuit. Of course, the Colosseum of chaos in the last 2 years since the upgrade in 2022. Fantastic races in both editions, and we're here for the 2024 race with a very confident RB team after those first 2 races giving us good momentum. In terms of qualifying, though, to jump into the first session, Q1. Of course, qualifying wasn't fantastic in Jeddah, dead last on the grid, forced to go from last as high as we could in a hunt for points. And it's looking at a bit more of the same this time around. Pace wasn't fantastic in practice, and the setup I'm not quite sure is there either. A bit of a slide there through turn 1. Not particularly used to driving this circuit. It's been a while since I've actually driven Albert Park, so I'm just sort of getting back to grips with it as best I can going into the actual race itself. But still, a solid start. I saved that slide in the first couple of corners as I just get to grips with, of course, the modifications that are still relatively new to the circuit. Of course, made a couple of years back in 2022 was the first race we ran with that configuration, particularly in the first and second sector. Well, there's modifications all over the circuit, but at the far end, not too difficult in terms of change. Into the last corner, way wide, into the wall and exit there. We're going to try and avoid doing that on our next round. So we run towards the line to complete our first time lap. It's going to be a 1 minute 21.175. Awful lap, 1.1 seconds off Yuki Tsunoda, our teammate, of course, has had the upper hand on us in qualifying in Jeddah, but not in Bahrain, as we make contact with Lance Stroll at the end of our first time run as he backs up in turn 1. As we accelerate time into session, yep, there we are, dead last, but a lot closer this time than we were in Jeddah. Last time in Saudi Arabia, we were a few seconds off. This time, about 1 or 2 of the cars in front, so it's unlikely to actually make Q2 here, and so it will be a second Q1 elimination and a second dead last start, but hopefully, with the patch coming in for the next episode, we should hopefully be in a bit more stead qualifying wise. A lot of improvements going for the last couple of corners. We're getting quite a few tenths, but by not going wide and hitting that wall. So again, a second, but in the end, it's not quite enough. So we run towards the line to complete that lap. It puts us into P17, but late improvements for everyone else in the session. You see everyone else coming up for their last runs. Unfortunately, it means that we did slip back down to P20 in the end, and that will take us, unfortunately, out of qualifying. Alonso goes fastest, Sainz second, Hamilton third in the first session. In terms of the knocked out cars, Ocon, Magnussen, our teammate Tsunoda, Nico Hülkenberg, and ourselves on the back row. 1.7 off pace, but a lot closer this time compared to that of our previous efforts. So you never know. With the right permutation of things happening in this Australian Grand Prix, we could end up with some points. So without further ado, let's jump right into the race.
You can hear the Australian fans roaring as they line the track here in Albert Park. Welcome to Melbourne, and the roar from the crowd can only mean one thing. It's race day. So here we are at Albert Park Circuit, 3.28 miles around, with the streets making for a bumpy surface with little undulation. There are 14 corners around the lake, with the best passing opportunities coming at turn 1 and turn 3. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Oscar Piastri, Sainz, Stroll, Bottas, Sargent, Joe, Albon, Gasly, Ocon, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, and Cohen. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. So I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about this afternoon, and who's going to talk about it with us? None other than Naomi Schiff. Hi Naomi. I don't want to, but we should look at their recent performances, and I think poor is a universal word to describe them. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, every driver certainly has their own way of preparing themselves before a race. But I can tell you that pre-race rituals are a real thing. When I was in go-karting, I used to touch every wheel in a specific sequence before I got into the kart. And then I stepped up to cars and had a specific set of fireproof base layers just for race day. So watch the drivers when they're on the grid. Some may be sitting on the floor and isolating, others may be up to other things that they do. But these little things really help their minds get ready for the race.
Right, back of the grid. I mean, there is literally only one direction we can go from here, so try and move forward and see if we can get something out of it.
I'm feeling it today, guys. Let's do this.
So here we go then, all systems go for the Australian Grand Prix, the third race in the 2024 season. In terms of strategy then, another one stop coming our way, mediums to hards for this Grand Prix. However, there's a threat of rain towards the end of the race, so that could be something to look out for. We may have to see a late switch to intermediates if the time comes to us, but we could also get to the end of the Grand Prix and end up having not enough time to change onto the intermediate tyres for loss of track position. So for now, we'll stick to that dry tactic, and of course, if the rain comes earlier than expected, we'll prepare for that and we'll make adjustments to the strategy when needed. But off we go now on the formation lap from dead last. Hulkenberg alongside us once again. Now, of course, last time in general, we got a fairly good getaway on the opening lap, but so did Yuki in front of us. He made up several places, picking the lock and sneaking through the large throng of cars headed for the first corner. So hopefully we can do more of the same with both RB cars, and we could be in the money in this Grand Prix. It's all going to depend on how we get on in this first lap and in this first stint of the Grand Prix. As we push now on towards the end of the lap, getting the last bit of warmth in our tyres, and coming into our grid slot now to kick this Grand Prix off. 29 laps of action headed our way here at Albert Park, and here come the lights for our third race in our F1 24 Driver Career Series. Both Red Bulls on the front row, here down under, and it's lights up, foot to the floor. We are underway. Decent getaway, but poor compared to the cars around us. Hulkenberg goes sliding through, Magnussen falling back on the start as they go towards turn 1. Everyone braking early, very close to hitting Hulkenberg, and may have locked up a little bit there. It could have been Ocon in the Alpine. We're around Hulkenberg. Ocon pulls out of favour against Magnussen. We're still side by side with the Germans who run down towards turn number 3. The Haas eking in front a little bit here. We can't go late on the brakes on the inside and try and gain more places that way because we're stuck on the outside of Hulkenberg. On exit though, going to try and pull clear of the Haas into turn 4. That's the left-hander, and we get in front. That's one place gained in the first sector. Let's start hunting Esteban Ocon now in the Alpine. He's got Magnussen and Gasly in front of him. So fighting the Haas and Alpine cars in the early stage of this Grand Prix. We get around Ocon nice and easy through the right hand, of course, one of the new corners from a couple of years ago. So decent start to the Grand Prix. We start hunting down Magnussen now. Gasly again for company in front, and Tsunoda's made a few places as well. I believe he's there in P14 right now. So overall 2 places. Only way to go is up in this Grand Prix. So the more places we can gain, the better. And there's a large train in front of us, so I should try and attack. Starting with Caleb Magnussen in the Haas. We close down towards the right hand. Of course, this will be a DRS line in a lapse time, so it'll be a good place overtaking over the course of this Grand Prix, but not close enough to go for K-Mag just yet, so we'll hold station for the moment. Hulkenberg behind us, so we have to be careful he doesn't try and make an attack down the main straight. We can try and focus on taking the Dane instead to the inside, very late on the brakes there, and into that modified second to last corner. Magnussen still alongside us, but managed to jump in front just about, and that is P17, so 3 places on this first lap. Not bad at all. Pushing on now to lap number 2 of this Grand Prix. DRS is now in place, so Gasly will be the first to feel the force of the RB straight line speed, as well as the DRS, as well as overtake, where you're going all out on attack. So make a move on the Frenchman. Into the corner we go, into the chicane, and up in front of Gasly. Albon our next target in the Williams. Tsunoda's getting in place as well. He's up to P14 right now, so he's a few places up than we expected. So we can try and take Albon as quickly as we can here. And go again to the inside, late on the brakes once again, similar to Daniel Ricciardo's style. Of course, the driver whose car we took over for this career mode. Still side by side with Albon, didn't get the best of exits out of the right-hander, but this time we get in front. Albon at the outside there, no chance against our superior run on the inside. And now we're trying to take on Yuki on the next lap. It's the same old story, using every last bit of attack we can use, overtake DRS and general slipstream, and our teammates try and pull in front, and once again we get the ace. No contact this time, so that's one up on our run against Yuki in the first lap in Jeddah. Zhou, Sargent, Bottas all in front of us, again fighting Zhou after our ferocious scrap in Jeddah. Of course, Bottas got the better of us during that race as well. Down the inside of the Sauber, hopefully this time we'll manage to get clear of them without any issue, and this time we do. So up into P13 now, the charge continues, the top 10's pulled away. But as of right now, in the event something goes wrong with someone in the top half of the field, we could try and score a few, or try and snag a few late points from them. Logan Sargent, our next target off the last corner as we run down the main straight towards turn 1 once again to start the fourth lap of this race. Sargent's going to take on Bottas. They're going to pull to the inside of the racetrack into the first corner, but Bottas has got more of the run going in. They're trying to pull to the outside of Logan, can't quite do it. It's back to the inside as he follows the line on exit. Overtake again being used. DRS in play. Closing on the American, and now to the inside of the racetrack. Once again, going back and forth, trying to find a way around the Williams, and we're up into P12 now. Cool as you like. And I start working on Bottas further into the lap, a couple corners later, and once again, for the third time in a row, that DRS zone about to become our playground as we try and take on the Flying Finn. Going to try and make a move to the outside of the racetrack if we can get close enough. There we go, looking closer and closer. There we go, to the high side, looking upstairs into the chicane, and pulling now ahead of Valtteri Bottas. And into P11, a bit of a slide on the exit of the chicane, but managed to hold it nice and easy. And P11 is now in our grasp. 4.5 seconds to the cars in front. That's Stroll and Sainz looking at those last points. Oh, big mistake there. Very close to going off in the gravel trap in the right-hander, but Bottas, luckily, not close to try and counter. Another big slide there. And again, two mistakes that could have seen huge damage to our car and could have seen our race ended as you get our first objective of the Grand Prix. It's been called as postponed already for some reason on the screen there, so we'll take that as a glitch because it's still working just fine to my knowledge. So average lap time of 1:24.895, so we've got to try and get that under our belts over these next couple of laps. We've pushed on to lap number 8 now, going on to lap 9 of the Grand Prix. Again, still holding station here in P11, falling away from the cars in front. The top 10 a lot quicker that DRS train than we are. We're perhaps holding these guys at bay behind us, but the longer we can keep them there. If something happens to the cars in front, then that of course positive us. I think something happens to the cars behind us because everyone's slowing up. The yellow flags are out behind. Not sure what's actually happened here as it goes into turn 4. Safety car has been deployed, and for the first time in this series, the safety car is out for some kind of problem behind us. I can't imagine what's actually happened in terms of the. I mean, has there been a crash or something? Because everyone's slowed up. Bottas is out. Okay, right. So Valtteri Bottas has retired from the race. He's just sort of stopped going this. So I'm assuming there's an internal failure of the car. Yellow flags. Oh, big crash there for the Alpine. I think that's Esteban Ocon who's out of the race, but Bottas looks to be out as well. No clue what's happened to the Sauber there. I'm thinking internal fault. Let's run on board with Ocon and see what happened on his take. So everyone slows up behind Bottas. It looks like one of the Haas cars pulls out to try and get away from those cars. And Ocon is the lonely victim who just gets caught out in all that. So Ocon, our first crash out of the race. Bottas mechanically out of the Grand Prix as well. Brings us in for our pit stop a little bit early here as he's just trying to make sense of what just happened there.
We think we might see some rain. ETA about 15 minutes.
Alright, copy that.
Confirmation that the rain is coming in this Grand Prix as we gear up for our first pit stop of the race. Decent stop with the RB team, again held up by the now lone Sauber in this race, Guan Yu Zhou, but it's not too much of a bother because thanks to everyone coming in, the strategy more or less the same for the entire field. And we've actually gained 2 places in that. So we were in P11, and thanks to the double stacks, we are now in P9 as we come on to then lap 11. Chase, we're now right behind Carlos Sainz and the Ferrari. Verstappen in front of us there as well. And keep an eye on Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton behind us. The 2 cars that we've managed to take advantage of. Their teammates in front of them double stacking in Verstappen and Russell. So as we push onto the restart here, not best to get to, so we can't go chasing Sainz immediately. But we could be in a chance for some more points here. We could be in a chance to contend if we can stay within this train, and we're with a solid chance of some sort of result in this Australian Grand Prix. As you see, the clouds are starting to form. The track looking not as bright and sunny as it was about 10 minutes ago. So all of a sudden, the rain looks like it come a bit earlier than we anticipated, perhaps. But we're going to focus on chasing Sainz in the meantime, and also holding Perez and Hamilton at bay to push further on into the lap. Let's see if we can take on Carlos Sainz for position number 8 in this Grand Prix. Again, no DRS in play on the restart, but come next lap he'll be in when we're in a much better chance. We could try and get him here, to be honest, if we make our way through the chicane. You get a good enough exit. Sainz particularly slow there. The Spaniard, we now pull side by side with him, almost side by side. He jumps back in front of us at the moment. We're going to try and pull back to the inside, though, for the right-hander going through. And on the inside of the smooth operator, he's still alongside us. He pulls in front a little bit, about half a car length, and clears us going into the second of those two rights, but into the penultimate corner of the circuit, diving back to the inside again, and side by side once more with the Ferrari around the outside on the exit. Can we pull it off? We can, just about pulling clear of the Spaniard and up now into P8. We start working on chasing Verstappen and the train in front. DRS back in place. We could be in for a bit of a time against Sainz, Perez and Hamilton, who are now all behind us. There's our objective coming out from the one previously for the safety car. We now get it back, so we can try again at that one. And I must say the pace feels so much better on these hard tyres compared to the mediums. As we run towards the line here and set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, I remember this time we're in the top 10, so that's a bonus point for us if we can see this one out, but I doubt we can hold it for the entirety of the rest of the race. But with that rain coming, that could be a potential chance of happening as we push again further on, chasing Verstappen and catching. Oh, Verstappen locks up. Big mistake from the Dutchman there, and we take P7 in the blink of an eye, and had to quick reaction to make sure we didn't hit him even more going in. So we can now start chasing Piastri and Stroll. As up front, Norris and Alonso lead as you go further on into the lap. Midway through, nearing the halfway stage of the Grand Prix. Yellow behind us once again. Sainz has gone off. Something's happened to Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari and is now tumbling down the order. I'm not sure if he's out of the race just yet. We'll have to have a look at the replay at exactly what's happened to the Sainz machine that was in that Red Bull sandwich going into the third and final sector. It looks like he's done the same thing as Verstappen. He's just locked up, but this time he's gone off into the gravel trap, which we almost did at the start of the race earlier on. And obviously he's now stuck here, has to wait for the entirety of the train behind to go through before he can make his re-entry. And so he falls all the way to the back of the pack here, and now is left with a lot of work to do to have any chance of points over the rest of this Grand Prix. To push further on to lap 15, we're chasing Piastri and Stroll. DRS in play for us once again, closing, but not enough to go for anything just yet. So that's to keep in line for the moment. Side by side for the lead. There goes Leclerc off the circuit, and the Ferraris have imploded. Big slide on the exit for ourselves. Verstappen gets past, but the Ferraris have completely fallen apart. Safety car's back out again. I don't think that's quite necessary for the game to bring a safety car for a car off in the gravel and about to rejoin, because it looks to be the exact same situation as Sainz was a lap ago, and the game didn't call on for that. But as Leclerc rejoins the back of the pack, let's look at the replay, what happened to him and how he did that, as Alonso and Norris go side by side, mano a mano for the lead. Leclerc goes sliding off in the exact same manner as his teammate. You see us sliding away in the distance. Verstappen lucky to get in front before the safety car came out. And again, Leclerc's got to wait for everyone else to go past, including our teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who's leading that train. And had to also wait one last little bit for Carlos Sainz to go through before he can make his re-entry to the circuit. So both Ferraris now at the tail end of the field, and with a lot of work to do in this Grand Prix. As we push further on now, getting ready for the restart. Alonso took the lead from Norris seconds before the safety car came out, so he'll lead us back to the green flag. And as you can see, the track now looks very, very overcast. So I think we'll be seeing that rain a bit earlier than anticipated perhaps. So get back on the way for the restart with just over 10 laps to go in this Australian Grand Prix. Plenty of time for things to change, but can we nab those first points of the season for ourselves and for RB? Verstappen didn't get a fantastic getaway, so we're going to hound him from the start. But a couple laps later, around lap sort of 21, there you go. The first few drops of rain starting to emerge on the circuit, and we're on hard tyres. The situation here is that we can't really pit for intermediate tyres because it's too late in the Grand Prix for that to actually gain the track position back. Almost hit the wall like we did in qualifying once again, and there goes Lewis Hamilton charging to the inside of the racetrack, looking for an opportunity, and we've got to stay on these hard tyres. This is my first experience of rain on this game, and I couldn't imagine a worse place to be doing it, as there goes another slide. I mean, we were doing those in the dry, let alone the wet. Perez trying to go past, but our brief shenanigans in front allow us to keep in front of him for the moment, but that could be a lot harder to push on to the end of lap number 23 and start 24. Another slide, and we almost go off into the pit lane there, almost hitting the wall, and Perez and Hamilton have all the impotence they need to go around the outside of us, and that will end up failing our objective as we slide off.
Okay, well, it wasn't to be this time, but not to worry. There's a long way to go in this race, so let's focus.
Copy. Is the rain lasting for the duration, or what's the situation there?
At least another 10 minutes until this rain evens out. Stay alert out there. Okay, dries seem like the best tyre for now.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Mark says the dry seem like the best tyre for now, but it's pushing to lap 26. That situation changing very quickly indeed. You can see the rain starting to stand a bit more on the circuit, and Sainz is starting to close in while we struggle for grip. The rest of the top 8 pull away, and P9 with the best we can hope for at this stage of the race. Will Sainz and Gasly catch us?
Alright, we're seeing puddles now, and the dry tyre isn't capable of moving that water out of the way. Looks like we're around the crossover point for the intermediates. Okay, gap to the car ahead, 8.9 seconds.
I don't think I've been anything more comfortable in a race car in my entire life.
Another slide to prove the point there. Sainz and Gasly will continue to close that gap with just 3 laps to go. Can we hold on these hard tyres and maintain our first points finish? Another slide. Russell's had a problem. Alonso down the order as well. So all of a sudden, 2 cars in front of us, but Sainz is there right behind. He's now 2 seconds away from us, and Gasly not too far back either. And both looks like both Alonso and Russell are coming together as some kind of yellow flags out in front of us. Alonso, we can get around him, but Russell is just about lucky enough to get away and regain momentum in time for us to not pass him. So we're into P8 now, but we now have Alonso, Sainz and Gasly all to think about. It's pushing to lap 28, just over half a lap to go. Alonso starts wrestling past on the DRS straight. No DRS there anymore. Sainz goes past as well. Sainz gets clear of us. We'll get back past Alonso. Gasly now entering the fray. Going to pull to the inside of Sainz against the chicane like we did earlier. This time alongside him on entry and in front on exit. Up in front now of the Spaniard, and we've got a car who's got a problem behind us here in the late stages. It looks like the Williams of Alexander Albon has had some kind of trouble with his Williams as we go further on. Oh, there's a big puff of smoke out of the machine, and that is the telltale sign that will give you all the information you need. Alexander Albon becomes the 3rd retiree of this Australian Grand Prix, and he is the latest to deal with the chaos, but perhaps chaos inside his own power unit as opposed to chaos out on the racetrack. You can see there just how much rain is hitting the circuit now. As Tsunoda goes past well, Tsunoda struggled as well over the rest of this Grand Prix, and we've struggled. We've managed to maintain position, and we are still looking at points, so it's not over just yet as Albon pulls his car over, pushing on now to the last lap of the Grand Prix. P8 is still on our clutches. Russell's gotten away. Sainz and Alonso and Gasly all try and nab those last places off of us. One of these 4 cars will not end up with points today. Which one will it be? Let's hope it's not us. Let's try and maintain things, keep it nice and slow, like I'm taking on my driving test almost. Sainz is looking for any sort of mistake we make. He's going to pull to the outside of the racetrack, looking for an opportunity to go late on the brakes. No chance doing it in conditions like these and on tyres like cars that have gone longer than expected anyway. And now having to deal with the harsh, wet weather. Going to maintain position for now. But up front, Lando Norris took full advantage of Alonso and Russell's coming together. He's going to run the last corner and will become the 2nd winner of the F1 24 Career Series. He rounds the final corner, and on a sodden Albert Park circuit that was once filled with sunshine, it's Lando Norris to the clouds part 4. He wins for the first time in Formula 1. He wins the Australian Grand Prix as we come through the last couple of corners ourselves now, quite a way back from that leading McLaren into the final few turns. No mistakes here. We are 1 corner away from points. If we can just finish the job here, plus fastest lap as well on the exit. A bit of a slide on the exit. Sainz might get close enough. Going to go full throttle and run to the line. And we're going to just about pull it off. The miracle complete. Last to P8 with squad points in Formula 1.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
That race is hard work. Thanks to you guys. Fantastic job. First points. Let's keep going. Let's keep pushing.
A great race then, and a fantastic victory here at Albert Park.
It's one thing to put fast laps together, but to make these moves stick without losing too much time, that's real racecraft.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure. And no doubt, they'll be celebrating tonight.
And so the sun comes back out and the rain dries up like it never happened. Lando Norris wins the Australian Grand Prix. Lance Stroll home in a very, very surprising 2nd place for Aston Martin. And Oscar Piastri makes it a double podium for the boys in Papaya. So all of a sudden Red Bull have a fight on their hands, Drivers and Constructors Championship wise. Could Norris be a force to be reckoned with and fight Verstappen for the crown this season? Only time will tell. But they should be in for a fantastic season if they can keep on providing races like that. And another podium for Aston Martin. Those guys looking strong as well.
After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula 1.
Let's have a look at the rest of the top 10 then. Verstappen comes home in 4th place, fighting back from earlier on. Perez in 5th, Hamilton 6th, Russell 7th. We finished in 8th, Carlos Sainz in 9th, and Fernando Alonso rounds with your top 10, leaving Pierre Gasly as the last car in our little train not to score. Leclerc came back to P13 in the end, wasn't enough to score points. But all in all, a very chaotic Grand Prix compared to the first 2 we dealt with, which weren't as entertaining as that. I'm hoping we never have to do dry tyres in a wet track ever again. Verstappen still leads the way in the championship, but just 10 points in front of Norris now. We sit in P11 with our first 5 points on the board, 5 back from Carlos Sainz. up in front of Valtteri Bottas, which means RB will take the edge over not only the teams who didn't score points, but also Sauber as well, up to P6 in the championship. So a positive weekend for us all around there. Hopefully you can be able to get some points on the board as well once the patch comes in next time out in Japan. But all in all, a successful weekend as Red Bull lead McLaren in the Constructors' Championship as well. They continue to maintain their stronghold on the top spot. In terms of ratings then, improvements by 1 to our racecraft and also to our focus as well, which will add to our overall rating, which gets about just under a third of the way there, another third of the way there, to 76 rated. Again, recognition still even between myself and Snow, but hopefully another good performance in the next race, we can try and push it up by 1% or 2 if we're lucky. And in terms of our specialists, improvements there as well, points for the objectives we achieved across the weekend in terms of the ones we set at the start of the episode. Couldn't quite get that average time on the end, which is frustrating, but we'll move on past that. But that'll do it for this episode, guys. I do hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Secret meeting will be the first order of business next time out in our next episode. But I hope you guys are looking forward to that. And until my next video, you guys have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.